Well, what you've done is extraordinary, and I really do think that the genius in many fields is often found at the intersection between fields, and that sometimes, as you say, bringing different people together who know how to play jazz in various ways and can work from the classical and also riff on the themes and figure out new solutions to hard problems. And so it's no surprise to me that you've been so successful in that regard. And I wonder if I could pivot from there to the two organizations that you've been involved in that have been MacArthur grantees. As you know, this is the last year of our time-limited bet on nuclear challenges, but two of the key grantees during that period have had your involvement and leadership, one N Square and of course Horizon 2045, both of which seem to me quite remarkable organizations, and using some of these approaches that you've described from your own background to reduce the risk associated in the field of nuclear security. So I'd be curious about both of these organizations and how your background has suited you and made it so possible to lead in the ways that you have.
Well, I'm fascinated, John, that you mentioned that notion of the importance of being able to hang out at the intersection of different disciplines and domains of knowledge. I'm going to come back to that actually when I try to answer your question here, because I think it's absolutely crucial. So maybe just as a little bit of background, I've been doing this work now since 2014, which is when a group of funders, including MacArthur, of course, and the Skoll Foundation, the Hewlett Foundation, Carnegie Corporation of New York, and the Plowshares Fund all pooled resources to bring me and now my team into this space in recognition of the fact that really since the 1980s or so, in spite of the efforts of a really dedicated community of nuclear professionals working on nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation, and I have to say, many of them have spent their lives protecting the rest of us from nuclear catastrophe, so we owe them a debt of gratitude. But that field had become increasingly insular, averse to adaptation, and actually, for a lot of people, frustrated about their inability to make great progress. So it was important that early on in this work, which is now, I guess, 9 years old, that we established a really deeply engaged funder collaborative, and that we invested heavily in the relationships in that collaborative as a starting point. So we did do a lot of trust building and invest in our relationships with each other, which allowed our team to have a culture of experimentation and learning. And so I would have to stress that part of what has been so instrumental in any successes we've had is that we have really been designed to evolve. And we've used an emergent approach to strategy that's been underpinned by a commitment to developmental evaluation. So what that meant is that we were constantly paying attention to what does and doesn't work and adjusting to changes in context, both inside the nuclear field and in the larger landscape that the nuclear field sits within. So our remit from the very beginning was to support innovation.